Welcome to the Finance Committee meeting for Thursday, September 8th. Our first agenda item is approval of the minutes from August 11th.
And with that, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the Finance Committee meeting from August 11th, 2022.
I will second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We still have tabled the July 14th. We still don't have a quorum for that, so I'll leave that tabled. Item number 2, discussion, Rocky Hills Senior Community Center room rental fees.
Yeah, we have our Director of Park and Recreation in the audience who was a key component of the team that worked on updating the fee schedule and sorting out the which rooms to lease and what would occur in each room, along with Gina and Mona and Phil. Where are we?
Section 2.
Section 2. So we want Craig to come up?
Sure.
Craig, why don't you come up and just run through this very quickly?
All right, so we, as a department, previously rented rooms out in the old community senior center. However, when we were putting this policy together, we wanted to make it simulate sort of what we have for our field rental policy. So we have a tiered priority system, and we pretty much set the table up like that. So, on the first page with the rental info, what you're looking to do. Again, this is really more going to apply really for people that are looking to rent the big room for special events, whether it's wedding showers or baby showers or banquets, things like that. So essentially, you have to fill out the first page. So it gives us an idea of hours, how many people you're looking to have. How many people you're looking to have will dictate how many custodians we'll need on duty, especially if it's a Saturday or Sunday, since it's outside of their normal work week. If it's a full 125, you're obviously probably going to need 2 custodians for trash purposes and setup and cleanup of the room. The way we set it up is with the priority users. So we, if it's a group that's, say, Rocky Hill Little League wants to use a room or something on a weeknight for a board meeting, which we've always done in the past, there would be no charge for that. The center's open. It's a $40 room charge, it's a free room charge because we don't charge them to use fields either. So in a way that simulates kind of how we set up the priority users. Once you go to the second priority users, you're looking at locally organized nonprofit groups. Essentially, when it comes to the Saturday and Sunday events, we're not going to, our plan was not to open up the center if someone wants to use room 2, which is a small classroom, for an hour on a Saturday night. It just doesn't make it. It's not very feasible, in my opinion. But if it's someone that wants to have a banquet on a Saturday night, so now we've got fees. So there's a room rental fee. If they want to use the kitchen, there's a fee for the kitchen. And then they have to pay custodial fees on top of the rental. So, if you wanted to rent out room 1 and you're a second priority user group, it'd be $80 an hour plus custodial fees per hour. Custodial fees, Mona worked with Phil to come up with a number based off of their overtime rates, benefits, and such.
Craig, let me just hold you. Mona, are those fees in this document, or am I just missing it?
Yes.
They are.
There's a custodial
Second
fees.
page.
Page B. I got an A and a B.
Uh-oh. we go streamline and didn't double-side you, you need the fees.
Yeah, that's why I'm looking, I'm like, there's no fees.
Oh, do you, I could give this to you if you want.
Or if, maybe just email them out to the three of us, but Bill's not here. But that way we could have that discussion with,
You know what? I'll go make a comment.
okay.
Yeah.
So there's a custodial fee, and let's go back to the first priority user group. Say Rocky Hill Youth Football and Cheer wants to host a banquet on a Saturday night, their end of the year banquet. Well, they wouldn't have to pay a rental fee because they're a local nonprofit youth league, but they would need to pay custodial fees. So that the town's not on the hook for the custodial overtime cost to cover that event. And then your third priority users are essentially your for-profits, your businesses, those types. And, there's a slightly higher charge as you go up from second priority to third priority, plus a night versus a weekend. So it's pretty standard. In the industry, we looked at some of the local towns around us that have a similar fee structure based off of nights, weekends, priority groups, maximum number of users that can be there for certain events. We looked at Newington, who has a brand new center, and then we looked at Glastonbury, and we looked at a couple of others, but Newington and Glastonbury were two of the ones that we looked at in the area, and we came up with a similar, fee structure as what they implement in those towns. And then, just to cover us in the back end, we would also, as part of that fee, Parks and Recreation would supply a facility supervisor. Those are the people that usually work at night. So we have one working now, right now from 5 to 9 o'clock. That would come included with those night and weekend events. Any type of permits, they wouldn't be able to use it without permits. The room would need to be returned to what it looked like prior to the event, because we would hold deposit fees. So, I don't want to go down each single one. The kitchen equipment, we'd actually like to purchase a separate refrigerator that guests could use. So if you're having a shower, that you have to come in with an ice chest and keep the cake in the cooler, because our existing equipment that we have in there now pretty much houses all of the senior lunch supplies with the freezers and the fridge. So it'd be nice if we could purchase a separate fridge and potential freezer. Freezer I'm not so much worried about, it's more the fridge.
Refrigerator,
Yeah.
yeah.
A lot of these are based on, obviously, decorations. We looked at decorations. We don't want, what do we say? No confetti, no glitter, cover the tables, things like that. We're really trying to preserve the facility. And that's the big fear, obviously, on our end, is when you open it up and you have these big events, people can get reckless because it's not their place. And we want to make sure that the town is covered and we're protecting ourselves from, damages. And I guess I could open it up for questions.
Can I just mention the alcohol, where we are with that for now?
Yeah.
Okay. So right now, our present insurance carrier offers a program that will allow the groups, or whatever the function is, to get a policy. There's like a tenant policy that'll be a liability plus an alcohol coverage as well. We're not really finalized on going with that, because at this point they're requiring that you get kind of like a tenant's liability policy and then the liquor policy on top of it, so it becomes a bit cumbersome if you were going to do a shower or a wedding event or something to that effect, that it's basically adding on like an extra $100. So we're still looking at if we can just do an internal waiver of liability and then have the alcohol license separate. So But it's still there, it's available if someone chose to do so. I've played around with the software a bit and tried to see what would happen if I had a large event and, a performer and so forth, and it can get steep. But if you just kept something small, it's a reasonable coverage to offer.
Two questions came to mind, especially like for the larger events in the big room. Is there a fee like for setting up the room? Because like there's a lot of tables that may need to be moved.
No,
around.
that would be included. So let's say you wanted to have a event from 7 to 9. We'd charge you for the setup like an hour before.
Okay, so you backdate an hour. Back.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha,
Yep.
okay.
Nobody's moving chairs around.
Okay, and the other question was, I think it said $100 security deposit.
Yep.
To me, that sounds low, like $100 doesn't get you.
Yeah, it's kind of standard for other places, but we could do,
I don't know what the right answer is.
We
but
could
it just
increase
struck
that.
me as like that. These days, that doesn't,
Yeah,
if you had it.
I guess it's a starting point. We want to be able to rent if it's too expensive, then, so maybe we can eventually start upping that if we find that people are, they don't mind, with the cost.
It was on my list of questions too, that I tend to agree that it's not high enough because it doesn't deter somebody from making a mess and leaving it for $100 at an event. It's refundable, so if they clean up at the end, they're gonna get 100% back.
Yeah.
That's the goal to that. So I agree. I think it's just something to think about.
Yeah, I agree. We could make the edit now if you think maybe like a 150 or would be more sufficient, or,
Craig, what have you seen?
yeah.
50.
Two or at least two.
I was going to say, if we're going to increase it, I would say maybe you go to like 250.
you would.
I mean, they're probably going to, they're probably going to give you a credit card and you're going to tear it up with it. So,
Exactly.
in reality, if they don't use it, it really, I don't want to go crazy, but I think it should be something that they make sure they have
Yeah.
skin in the game, though.
Yeah.
So,
Any others, Jeff?
that was it for me.
All right. So, Craig, just as a kind of an outline, and I want to make sure that planned events, whether parks or senior services, are taking the first priority, so the rooms are used for those events. So with that being said, during the day, I don't think there's going to be rentals Monday through Friday during the day for the most part.
Well, we're obviously going to have priority. Our programs take priority over any league, anything,
Okay.
especially because it's our building.
Right. So where I'm going with that, is there like an hour, like you're going to set Monday through Thursday, maybe Friday, certain hours, and then Saturday, Sunday, more open? Have you worked on a parameter?
Yeah, pretty much the building's open from 7 a.m. Technically, that's when we get senior walkers coming in that early. The building's open at 7 a.m. and closes at 10, but usually we try and end everything by 9 o'clock on a weeknight. Weekend, it depends on when you want to have the event.
Right.
We could have leeway on, hey, we'd rather have, do this from 5 to 9 instead of 6 to 11. Or the other thing is, it could get used during the week. You could get businesses that want to have luncheons or functions here. We get calls all the time.
So someone could potentially host a breakfast meeting?
Sure. As
Okay.
long as it's open and it doesn't interfere with our programs. And if there's a program that's, let's say someone calls and, they want to rent it out for a business function, and we have, a chair yoga class for Gina seniors, we could talk to Gina and say, hey, can we move this to a different location? Can we move it to the gym? Can we, we have that flexibility too if there's other rooms available that could house that particular program.
Okay. So you will coordinate that, I guess?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yep. So the call would come in and, Rita would send it my way and we would talk with Gina and see, if it's something that could make sense.
Okay. So potentially you could do mornings. Afternoons are pretty solid with different programs.
Yeah, but,
There is
usually
openings.
there's openings in the afternoon. Yep.
All right,
Yeah.
so there's more flexibility, I guess, than I thought.
Yeah.
Or availability than I thought.
Yeah, again, it depends on the season.
Yep.
Depends on the programs that are happening in that particular season or month. Some months are more busy than others. So there's potential there. But, we'd have to take into consideration also, the needs of functioning here in Town Hall. If it's a huge event and it's in the middle of the day, we've got senior lunch, we've got, other business functions running through the town, maybe it's not a good idea. So we'd have to talk that over, and that's something we would go up the food chain and talk with Ray about too.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we're not impacting any of our existing.
Not at all.
That's, the priority's got to be to our residents that are using Town
Yes, sir.
Hall for different events.
Absolutely.
Before we look to rent it out to even local groups.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the initial discussion, even,
Yeah.
at the very beginning, more priority. The current programs are a priority.
I wanted to just add, and I think the beauty of it coming from the Parks Department is that it's going to be managed through the MyRec program. So you already have your schedule, so you've, less risk of overlap. So, we've got the software there, and we've already got the scheduling ability. So I think it makes it an organized approach.
Yeah, I mean, the intent tonight is not to move forward on this. What we're going to do, and I will reach out to Counselor O'Sullivan, who couldn't make tonight, and we're going to go back to our caucuses, have a discussion, and then come back with comments as a group, so we could kind of iron them out before we bring it to the full council. So everybody will be informed.
Right.
That's all I'll ask, is since the fee wasn't part of the packet, if you could just make sure that
Absolutely.
the three of us get
Yes.
an email, so we're all have the same information.
Yes.
And just so everyone understands, again, the way we set up the fee structure and the fee table is we set it up very similar to how we rent out our fields. So priority users, and believe it or not, we get other towns calling us being like, hey, can you send us a copy of your fee structure? Because we like how you do the priority users, so, yeah, but it's,
I think the fee structure, I'm not looking at it and saying it's too high, too low. I think
Yeah.
that people are looking for a space. It's very reasonable for hosting a meeting. And obviously, they're doing it here because it's a convenient location for
Yeah.
either their business or their social group or family or whatever it is.
And just so everyone knows too, is previously, we just used to have like a standard, like $30 an hour for everyone. So now we're actually doing this, what I feel is a more responsible way.
Yeah.
And we're upping the charges because those rooms are not worth $30 an hour. They're worth more than that.
Yeah.
Sure.
The place is very nice, and
Yep.
we have to charge accordingly based off of that.
And you said Phil reviewed the custodial rate, so we make sure that
Yes.
we're covering our costs at least at a
Yes.
minimum.
Yes.
Okay.
And what we thought too is with money that comes in from these rentals, if we have a refrigerator breaks down, or we have a table that gets is on its last legs and we need to replace a table, or we need to replace some chairs or whatever, that those fees are used to purchase some of that equipment if need be.
I think that's a great purpose for it, make it a self-funded
Correct.
center.
Yep.
Exactly.
Actually, I have one other quick question I just thought of, sorry. Do you ever envision an issue, like, especially if you have like Saturday night or Sunday night events where you just can't get someone from the custodian staff to man it, or do we have enough folks to really to choose from? I don't.
Where's Phil?
Or we can
That's-
talk about it next time
We're
too.
going to
But
test it. and
There's a
see-
potential there. I mean, I think our original plan was to open it up on Saturdays for these purposes and see how that goes, and then expand to Sundays. And we just have to monitor that and see how it goes. I think there's also there's union, with full-timers getting first rights, and then it goes to part-timers, so we have to balance that too.
yeah. Okay.
All right. Anybody else on this one? Thanks, Craig, but don't go far, because I think you're still there. Item 3, discussion, possible action, lease the wide area mower.
Okay. This particular mower, we had it in our CIP budget, and we had actually budgeted $27,007. Since then, the financing fees have changed and brought this to an annual payment of $31,987. This is for 5 years. We are going with Turf Products, who is with the government bid pricing consortium. So our recommendation is to go with the 5-year lease using the CIP money that was allocated, and working with Craig, he's agreed that the field use funds that are available in non-reoccurring could pick up the excess. We did have an option from financing to go a 6th year, which we don't ordinarily do. The life of these fixed assets is usually a 5-year. To go a 6th didn't really make that much sense for us, but if we went that way, it would bring us to, just to the 27,000. So I do have an alternate resolution if we had a preference to substitute. But our recommendation is to go with the 5-year, which we ordinarily do for this type of equipment, with $31,987 Turf Products.
Do we have a motion?
So do you have any question? Or?
Well, let's do a
We're gonna
motion,
okay.
then we can do discussion.
All right. So I'd like to make a motion to send to the consent agenda the town council resolution pertaining to acquiring lease wide area mower Parks Department. The cost of $145,493.76 over 5 years from Turf Products in Enfield, Connecticut.
I will second. Any discussion?
I'm just going to go with the recommendation, I guess.
Okay.
if that's,
I just have one question on it. And, it looks like this is a capital lease, so we would own the asset at the end of the
Correct.
lease?
Yes.
Is the assumption, though, at the end of 5 years, this wide area mower is no longer usable, or then we move it to our second tier? It's like a rotation?
It goes to the second rotation.
Yeah, okay, all right. So
Yeah.
it makes sense to continue to own it and not try to do
Absolutely.
an operating.
Yep.
Okay, that's the only thing I wanted to
Yes.
make sure.
And I would definitely recommend the 5-year.
Okay, yeah. They start to get old.
Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion?
not for me.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 2-0. And I think you're here for the third one, Craig. Just let me,
Okay.
I'm getting used to the digital here, so bear with me. Discussion and possible action, award a bid, Rocky Hill High School ball field.
Okay, I'll start off with it and let Craig jump in where you need me. But we did hold a bid for this on July 28th. As you can see, we had 5 companies come forward with obviously a wide range from $91,833 all the way to $245,000 for the project. And we'll let Craig jump in if he'd like, but we're recommending the lowest qualified, which wasn't the lowest dollar bid. Craig and some of his colleagues from other towns, as well as staff, interviewed the 3 finalists, the lower 3, and did interviews with them, and came that the second bidder up, which would be
U.S. Pitch Care.
Thank you. U.S. Pitch Care would be the best recommendation. Did you want to add anything?
I mean, it's a company we have an existing relationship with. They're very qualified for the job. They've built dozens of fields using the product that we want to use, whereas the low bidder did not have the experience building those fields. And we feel that this is the more responsible choice and the more responsible firm. And it still comes in under the bid or under the price that we had for the ball field.
Okay.
With that, I'll make a motion to move to the consent agenda, town council resolution dated September 19th. Award a bid, Rock Hill High School varsity baseball field resurfacing with Dura Edge, with awarding a bid to U.S. Pitch Care of Northfield, Connecticut at a bid price of $99,600.
I will second that. Any discussion or comments?
I obviously have experience with this with this firm? Is the actual work the same? It's just you're going basically with experience and,
Yeah.
yeah, gotcha, okay.
Yep.
No, I also like the fact that you guys are doing the due diligence on that, especially where we had a previous project on the Straska Farm where we had to change the company who just wasn't able to do the work. So I think that's good that we're going through the process, and there's a reason not to go sometimes with the low bid. There's a reason they're there, and
Yeah, we did some, it was extensive. It was an extensive vetting process, and we felt confident that this was the team or the firm to go with, for sure.
And we're still within the budgeted amount, so that
Right.
falls where we need it.
Exactly.
What is the timing, so this gets approved at the next town council meeting?
Quick.
Is it, how long does a job take, like, is it?
A couple weeks.
Okay, so it'll be done before winter hits and.
Oh, yeah, we need to be done before winter. We'd like this to, we'd like to have shovels in the ground by the last week of September. It'll take about a week for them to dig it out, remove all the process, and then come back in with, install the drainage, and then, topsoil, then come in with the Dura-Edge product on top, and then re-sod it. But the key is we need to get the sod down as quick as possible, so it can start to get some rooting to take place. And we can water it, up until, mid-November. So, it should work out pretty well, and we can play games April 1st for the high school.
Are there any fall ball teams
No.
that are getting displaced? Or?
There's a couple teams that are using it right now for practicing, but, they can go to Cromwell.
Yeah. Is it RCP or?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
All right, so.
If there's no further questions, all those in favor?
Aye.
Once again, carries 2-0. Thank you, Craig.
Off to open house.
You don't want to do the firehouse side?
You're on a roll, come on.
Any questions about the fees or whatever?
We'll let you know back on that one.
Thank you.
All right, item 5, discussion possible action, award a bid, Firehouse 3 HVAC Facilities Department.
Yes, I will present for facilities. We did go out to bid on this particular project. They had a mandatory walkthrough on August 2nd. The one vendor came for the walkthrough. We also had the opening of the bid on August 10th. Again, we had one qualified bidder. Phil reviewed their references and was comfortable and familiar with the work that they had. So he's pleased with the bid. He'd like to award this to Save More. Their bid price is $205,200, and that came under the amount that we had allocated from the ARPA, which was last year we made an allocation for this HVAC project for $233,000. So the bid coming in under what the appropriated amount was is very good, and they're pleased with the vendor. So we're recommending Save More.
Okay.
Where'd we get 233 from? I don't know, but.
My guess is that the budget was probably an estimated number until we went out to
It's an
the.
interesting number, okay.
Yeah.
So I will make a motion to send to the consent agenda Town Council resolution for September 19th, 2022, the award of bid for HVAC replacement for Fire Station Number 3, and awarding that bid to Save More Cooling and Heating of Southington, Connecticut, at a bid price of $205,200.
I'll second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Motion again carries 2-0. Moving on to item 6, update special revenue fund. I guess we look to you for that one, Mona?
I think they're going to get tired of me tonight because it's all me.
Sit in the audience.
No, you can't. So just to highlight, and I had marked some highlights down in the right margin. We still have these same special revenue funds, and no new funds added to the group. We have the special rec, which we are seeing the impact of the collections and the expenditures kind of wrapping itself up due to the seasonal projects. They'll eventually just kind of get to a fund balance and have minimal activity throughout the year. The next I wanted to point out was the Fund 09 asset forfeiture. We had experienced a bit of a delay, I think more on the staffing side, for the federal government on reviewing some of these claims and cases. So we've actually got our cost share, 200,000 to date coming through. So we're seeing that particular fund build up. And other than that, I would point out the private duty. They had some collections for the month of August, but still keeping at a lower fund balance. So as we see the collections, usually they bill the following month and then allow about 30 days for collection. So that tends to lag a bit. Those would be the highlights on that page.
All right, any questions there?
This is more of a general question. For certain lines, like the recreation program, is there like a little budget as to what they're targeting to be, or they know if they missed or they're over, or as far as, I mean, a lot of these lines, like as forfeiture, you can't do that, but some of these lines maybe.
Well, for this, actually for the special rec, not necessarily a budget, but what they do have is the individual coordinators, for example, the coordinator that's overseeing the aquatics, he knows what his activities will be, and his functions are separated. So there's actually subgroups within this that takes the group. So the aquatics program manager will see his revenue collections and his expenses and know that he has to collect enough to cover expenditures. If he goes over, he'll have to, contact Craig and see if they can transfer within. Same situation with the organized activities within their own department. I'm sure they do, set a budget for this particular program should cost so much, and they can track their expenses. But we're doing it on 5 categories: organized activity, aquatics, actually your senior program, because we started that way. They're actually in there as well. And they have a small portion which is just sponsorship. So if someone did put in a sponsorship, that could be allocated to one of the programs.
The only one I have from our last month's meeting, Ray, I think you were going to try to get some information on the industrial park,
Still working,
Still working, okay.
Still trying to track down that contract.
and I'm not as optimistic on the CDBG one. That's been going on forever.
That would be nice, wouldn't it?
But that one's divided amongst 3 towns anyway.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, okay. So as you get information, just if you could update it at whatever meeting you get it. Thank you. All right, getting used to this digital back and forth here. It's actually working pretty good. Number 7, update reserve for capital and non-recurring expenditure fund through August 31st.
Okay. Well, hopefully you recognized, even when you're zooming in, that this page is probably slimmed down a little bit and hopefully a little more easy to follow. The activity that's highlighted is actually the only major item, and that would be the boom mower that we had shared with Newington. We actually made our payment to Newington for the boom mower. It's at the location of Newington, there to be used. My understanding is that they are still having staff going through training, so we haven't actually taken it out for a ride yet.
Okay.
I was going to point out just on this bottom part where the school section is, because we've had conversation with the Board of Ed, and I'll just read from the bottom up on that. They have the $1.8 million that was allocated for the school roof. When they closed out their year, in addition to the $900,000 they put to the roof, they had an additional $142,000 for miscellaneous repairs. That would be the line above that. The next line up, if you remember, we have the $275,000 resolution at our year-end closeout to transfer to schools. Portion of that helped bring that school roof to the $1.8 million, still leaving them $127,000 of funds available for miscellaneous repairs. The 3 items above that are for projects that were older and have completed their expenses, and we've had meetings with town manager and superintendent, and they're up for discussion on what to do with those particular funds.
Okay.
My understanding, the science labs are still some punch list items, so could they still need some of that capital in there, or is it?
For the science labs, they funded the first round with their funds on the other side. And they've actually had conversations, I've had conversations with Chuck, and I believe their hopes would be, and I shouldn't necessarily speak for them, but we do have on our general fund, CIP, $200,000. So they have considered using that plus that 127 could actually prepare them for another round. So
Okay.
they've got that, and then the ability to move forward if they chose to.
I like this layout, actually. I find it easier to see where everything's moving.
Thank you. Thank you.
And being digital, I could enlarge it when that small print gets there, so. There's a plus. All right, I think we're good there. That was the number 7. Number 8, state aid to municipalities, 2022-2023 budget.
Well, I have to say there is nothing new to report there. Although we have ordinarily received our town aid road money by the end of August, and I have not seen that to date and had no communication with the state. So I've seen in past years that that first installment has a tendency to come late on occasion. So we'll continue to watch that.
That's normally the August payment.
Correct.
Right, okay. And the other one that's in there was the July payment for.
That was a motor vehicle
Yep.
transitional.
Right, which we discussed at our last meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
It looks like we received some of the American Rescue second tranche in August.
Oh, yes, I missed that. I wanted to share that, but yes, we did. That's our most exciting part, but they gave us a portion of that. So apparently they are, the formula goes for how much is to the local NEU and then how much is coming because we are not a county. So this is a portion that's distributed to the town as an NEU. The portion that's going to be as a county will come at a later date.
So a tranche of a tranche, okay.
Exactly.
Still got a receivable there, so that's all right.
We don't.
Any questions there?
No.
All right. Item 9, monthly financial report and the
So.
pre-audit.
That's right. So here we are in August, so not concerned too much about overages, but just wanted to point out, I'll probably jump ahead as you're flipping through, but take a quick look at the tax collector's report for the month of August. Very, very good numbers, and hoping we continue at that rate of collection. 55% last year at this time and 55.9 to date. And using that 3-year average benchmark figure, and again, I'm excluding as we'll call it, the COVID year where we delayed the collections so we can get a better handle on what a 3-year average would look like. And we are still in very good shape for tax collections.
Great.
Otherwise, our revenues, we mentioned we got the municipal transition. Conveyance is actually at 58% of their $100,000. There was $100,000, and I mentioned it last June as we were closing out, wondering why conveyance was low. There was a transaction that happened that first week of July, so it would have been nice to have it last year, but we'll take it this year as well.
Yep.
As far as expenditures, we seem to be on track. Watching fuel purchases, again, slightly over, but 20%. We should be looking at about 16%. So keep an eye on that and see what the rates do. I pointed out in my summary, if you're flipping through the detail pages, there is a large negative in central services. That's reflecting a credit we get from the bank for fees, and then we'll get billed for them at a later date, but usually does result in a net credit that we can use for things such as the upgrade that we'll be doing to the financial system in January.
Okay.
I think other than that, some of the items look like they're high. It's timing issues such as the debt, and the Board of Ed's expenditures are through the month of July. At the time of this report, we did not get August figures yet.
Related to your note on the fuel, What are we doing as far as fuel? Are we I know we have our own tanks.
Correct.
What are we,
Right,
How are
we're
we
still
filling-
purchasing. We have not locked in. We're always in touch with Public Works Director. We're, debating what's going to be the best time, if we do even lock in, to a rate. So at this point, we're floating, and we're seeing it fluctuate a bit. So we'll have to make a decision on what we do with this. We get contact from Dime Oil, where we're purchasing through. They came through with Krog. So we'll continue to work with them. They keep us updated on a regular basis.
okay. And I know I've mentioned this before. Have we looked at all at fuel cards where where they could take vehicles to a local gas station instead of on-site? There's certain advantages to being on-site, especially from, these big trucks going through gas stations and other things.
Right.
So maybe a combination of the two, so we don't have to lock in? And
Maybe a
because-
combination of the two, because of course we're getting it and we don't pay the taxed amount that you would at the pump.
Oh,
But
we can
you're
get a
right.
refund
That's right.
on that at the pump.
Yeah. So I think it's worth looking at. Of course, we have the concern about the 24-hour, but,
Yeah, so this would be used for this, the smaller vehicles, the pickup trucks and, the supervisor vehicles.
Yeah, just looking at different options, because right now
I agree.
the cost per gallon is fluctuating. We were up over $6 for diesel, and, it's fallen a little bit, but it's still nowhere near what we anticipate.
Right.
And I just don't want to get stuck with like a 10,000 gallon tank full of diesel at what could be the higher rate.
Right.
Yeah, and that's always the test, is at what point do you think it's dropped enough that you lock, and you don't
Yes.
want to lock too early and
Right.
find it dropped another dollar, and
Yeah, I mean, $10,000 is a big number
I
in the
think
budget.
so.
So it's just trying to be,
I like
especially
that.
with the fluctuating rates, be as responsible as we can with it and look at all options. And we may say the fuel card is not the right idea, and that's fine. It's just something,
test
it's just
it, I
something to
think
look
it's
out and
good.
find out if it does make sense.
Yeah, I agree.
We will look at that, definitely.
Nothing else jumped out at me as,
Yeah, just one quick question. And I know some of these are seasonal and stuff, but like Health District is 25% of their expenditures for the year. Is there something attributable specifically?
They actually bill quarterly.
Oh, so- There you go.
there's 25%.
It's actually that simple.
Hence the 25%.
They actually do quarterly.
Okay, that was it for me.
Okay. Do we have anything for other?
I think I wanted to at least mention a prelude to what will come up on the next finance meeting, is we are getting ready to do our tax sale. So I think I had a couple of notes from our tax collector. Basically, we have to get rolling on that. We did budget for, in the prior year tax collections, that we would collect revenues through the tax sale. Tax collectors identified so far 21, possibly 23 accounts at the rate of total $330,000. We need to contact the attorney that works with that. We'll use the same attorney that we had used in the past from Pullman and Comley, so sorry. So we'll have the same attorney working on that. Town manager, tax collector, and I will probably meet with them next week or so to get them going on that. But next meeting, we'll bring to you the list of who these taxpayers are, the time frame that the attorney needs. We're looking at, they say it's about 3 months to do the pre-auction, 2 months for title search. So if we start in the next few weeks, we should be able to collect by May. But we don't want to, in the past, we've done where we start the tax sale and then the collections happened in the following fiscal year, and we need to time it very precisely.
Just, you mentioned that Pullman and Comley's the firm that we used in the past. Our town attorneys are Halloran and Sage. Would it make sense to use our town attorneys to keep everything under one roof, or is it kind of specialized and we
It's
would
it's
need?
very specialized. They operate on getting their fee from the collection,
Okay,
so they're quite familiar with doing the tax sales. It is a bit specialized.
okay. Is it something that Halloran and Sage doesn't do, or would they be doing the same? I just, you know, when you have a town attorney, you like to try to keep everything in one spot if it falls within their areas of specialty. If it doesn't, then we definitely go outside.
We can ask them
I
if it's.
suppose we can ask and see what it would cost.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously know what we anticipate the cost, but that way we kind of stay within what we previously approved.
We will do that.
Okay. If there's nothing else under other, entertain a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn?
Second, all in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone.